Our next guest, Executive Director of Housing All Australians, Robert Pradlin. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Tom.
Are you aware of the homeless encampment on the edge of Albert Park Lake?
Well, I'm aware of it, obviously, from the Herald Sun article, but it is happening not only in the Mornington Peninsula, it's happening all around Victoria and our country. It's taken decades to get here, and it's going to go through the roof because it all relates to house prices.
The sort of people who are camping probably wouldn't be able to buy a house at any price, would they?
Look, they wouldn't be able to buy a house at any price, but they have unintended consequences which actually cost society, both from a social point of view, but also from an economic point of view. Housing All Australians represents the voice of business, and we think this is too big for government to solve on its own. It's a community-wide problem, and that includes business. So what we do, Tom, is we look around for buildings that are sitting empty, waiting for the next development cycle, and through what I term compassionate capitalism, we actually refurbish those buildings, give them to a not-for-profit, and allow them to help the vulnerable people.
But are there many buildings like that that are empty, capable of being lived in, but not being used for anything?
Absolutely. We've done 10 around the country, 5 in Victoria, and these are buildings that are 80% complete, and they're empty. And we think that is the same as food wastage when people are living on the street and we have buildings that can be used for short-term shelter. It's not a solution. It's a response by the private sector to a country in crisis. We must build more homes, but let's use our existing infrastructure first.
See, I do agree with that because, there's a place in Richmond I've walked past many times, and it clearly used to be Housing Commission. It's a low-rise sort of block of, I think, about a dozen units. Now, the windows are all boarded up and the grass is very long. Clearly no one's there. But it seems odd that in a housing crisis, a block of units that I think is owned by the Housing Commission is just being allowed to sort of, to stagnate, and it's not being rebuilt and no one's living in it. So what would you need from business? You need maybe some sort of a tax break for businesses who are prepared to do this, or something to help kick the process along?
Look, that'll definitely help, right? But we've got people reaching out to us. We've got companies like Mirvac, Metricon, Henley, Better Living Group, Dulux, all saying we want to help. We want to contribute our skills and services, and they do it pro bono. Tom, we are up to 150,000 nights of accommodation that we've supplied Australia at no cost to taxpayers.
Okay, but what's the stumbling block? Is it town planning? Is it local residents? What needs to change to make this easier to do?
First of all, we recognise that it's our collective problem, and we can't afford to wait for government anymore because it's been happening for decades. And the uniting of the private sector to actually help this is a recognition that it is our collective problem. And Tom, I can tell you there were 32 apartments in South Melbourne that were lying empty. We refurbished them from market cost $700,000. We did it for $50,000 cash, and that was provided by a philanthropist.
But sorry, so I'm just trying to understand. You're saying that you've got Mirvac willing to help. Well, what is stopping it? Why isn't it just happening if you've got a company like Mirvac willing to get on board?
First of all, we need to find where the empty buildings are, because people only tell it by word of mouth. All these empty buildings are sitting there, but you don't know they're empty because they're well maintained on the outside, yet they're actually empty.
Okay. So you need perhaps people who even own these buildings to say, look, we own it, we've got no plans for it, you can do this for the next 5 years or something like that.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's for a peppercorn rent for the not-for-profit to manage vulnerable people, Tom. It's not rocket science.
Okay. That's interesting. All right, thank you, Robert. Robert Pradlin there, Executive Director of Housing All Australians. So you find, and there are many empty buildings, some of them are residential buildings, for whatever reason, fallen into disrepair. You get big building companies like Mirvac who do a sort of a renovation, not an absolutely thorough A-grade renovation, but enough to make the building habitable, and then that's where the homeless people go. All right. Thank you, Robert. And I might try and check the address of this one that I know in Richmond, because I just think it's a crime that it's just empty, and it's in a very desirable area, used to house people, and the building is still there, and it's been vacant for years.